We are still in the early days of what is the next technological revolution. Good news, this is the perfect time to get in and enjoy all the future benefits of the early adopter. Not so good news, as with every early stage invention, there is a lot of hype, a lot of scams, and a lot of risks. In this talk, we will be discussing how to get started with buying and securing your first crypto assets, as well as what to be aware of out there when immersing into this space. Our guest today is a former real estate asset manager who is now making a living from crypto and is also educating and inspiring people on the new technology's massive potential. Please meet Matt Millen.
Hello, Matt. Thank you very much for being here. Welcome to the Online Crypto Summit.
Yeah, really glad to be here. You guys are doing some awesome stuff. So yeah, I appreciate the invitation.
Sure. So could you tell us a bit about yourself and your background, and how are you currently involved into the blockchain space?
Sure. Yeah. So I originally went to school to be a pilot. And so I racked up all the associated student debt with doing that. And I got out and decided that it wasn't for me. And so I ended up working at my parents' wood shop, making some furniture and trying to pay off some of my loans. And then I got into sort of the real estate game and was flipping some, fixing up houses and selling those. And eventually got picked up by a real estate investment trust as an asset manager. And I had a portfolio of about 200 homes in 3 different states here in the United States, and was managing all of those, basically flipping them just kind of on a bigger scale. And it really burned me out. I did that for about 1.5 years, and seeing all the, I think just seeing the end result of a system that really doesn't work for everybody. I was right there on kind of the edge of it, and we're kicking people out of homes, and they didn't have anywhere to go just because they missed one payment, and they were really not very great homes to begin with, and it really soured me on just our real estate industry here in the United States. And I need a change. I got to get out of this. It's, slowly killing me. And so I took a look at cryptocurrencies, recommended from a friend, and got excited about it. Initially got into it as a way to, make a living. And then after I stuck around a little bit, realized that this stuff is going to completely change our society, on a global level. It's going to impact people's everyday lives. This is a space you want to be in. If you're looking for something new and exciting and you want to be, helping progress humanity, you should be in the blockchain space. And so I drank, let's see here, I drank the Kool-Aid about 1 year and a few months ago. And I've been running the Denver crypto group here in Denver, just really as an entry portal for new faces into the space. If you got questions or you've heard about it, come out to one of our free Wednesday nights, and we'll let you know and hook you up with other people with a similar mindset. And really, just increasing awareness and adoption, and helping people get over that learning curve, because it's still fairly steep, I think, today. It's getting easier, but just helping new people get over the learning curve. That's our main focus here at the Denver Crypto Group.
Perfect. And so it's ours. So thank you again for being here and for helping us out.
Super stoked to be here, for sure.
All right. So let's start from the basics. Could you try to explain what defines a transaction on the blockchain, and how are Bitcoin and other blockchain transactions different than what we use today already?
It's the current solutions versus the blockchain solution to I think for like the average person's definition of a transaction versus the technical programmer's definition, they're kind of two different ways to do it. I think for what we do at the DCG, what you guys are doing, the simpler one is probably better, and it's just really a change of state, and is how I kind of look at it. You have a Bitcoin account or address, it has 1 Bitcoin in it. A transaction is going to change that amount. It's going to change the state of that Bitcoin wallet. So you make a request to the network, and the miners and everybody, they verify it and validate it. And then after all that happens, you had 1 Bitcoin before, you've sent it out, and as soon as that confirmation, that block is confirmed that contains the changing of your account balance, the transaction is considered completed. And it's really just moving, a Bitcoin out of one account to a different one. And as soon as it's confirmed on the blockchain, that's your transaction. It's kind of a simplified explanation of that. Like what you were looking for there.
Transactions only, or what other type of transactions can we have on that?
So it's really just, you're really just moving decimals around. And in the case of, Bitcoin, it's representing, a fraction of that cryptocurrency. But you can move any amount or any balance, as a transaction. I think with, some of the smart contract functionality that you see coming in with Ethereum and what they're implementing, those transactions are much, much more complex than just, deleting, messing with an account balance or reducing an account balance, adding to an account balance. Those transactions are really just any kind of physical asset, is being digitized and represented by the cryptocurrency or the token. All of those can be moved in a transaction, through the blockchain network. It's exciting stuff. For sure.
Yeah. So what value do people find in digital currency like Bitcoin? Why are more and more people into it and starting to use it?
Yeah, it's definitely, you hear kind of the argument that, this is all speculative and this isn't based on anything and, it's going to crash and things like that. And I do believe, the speculation plays into it. But we're starting to see some really cool use cases, I think, in Zimbabwe and Venezuela and Colombia a little bit too, where the national governments are really kind of, messing with the economy, making poor fiscal decisions and sort of holding everybody hostage with that central bank. And, people have saved, they've worked hard their whole lives and they've, put aside some money for themselves or their children. And then the national government basically holds that hostage and starts inflating the currency and printing a bunch of money, and they see all their hard work over the years just drop away and become nothing. And then you have, Bitcoin, which is, a global store of value, a global currency that's not really tied to any specific government. And I'm seeing increasingly people from a wider range of countries the world over are starting to kind of hedge some of their savings and their value that they've generated for themselves in Bitcoin. And then when that local situation kind of settles down, like in Colombia, they got all the FARC rebels are becoming reintegrated into the society, and the locals there are getting really concerned about it, and so they're taking their Colombian peso and they're exchanging it for Bitcoin. And then, maybe a year from now, once the elections and everything has settled down, their money was safe. They can then bring it back into Colombia and kind of continue business as usual. And they don't have to worry about their savings and everything they've worked for, just going away because their national government is acting poorly. So for me, that's the coolest use case of Bitcoin that I've seen to date. I get really excited when I see people, protecting themselves from their government with this global digital currency that is Bitcoin. So
is it too late to jump on the Bitcoin train for people?
No, absolutely not. No, definitely not. I tell people a lot of the time, this is a toddler just like learning to walk. We're still very, very early on. And in my personal opinion, we've got at least another 2 or 3 years and probably more of just kind of this exponential growth that we've been kind of experiencing, especially in the last few years here. But yeah, there's a lot of room to grow for it. I think we see the overall market cap go from like 60 billion or something last year to up over, it was over 600 billion. I think it's closer to 800, around Christmas at the beginning of the year this year. To me, that says when you get that kind of growth, there's something. We're not done yet. It's definitely early on. They still haven't even figured the scaling out yet. So there's a lot of room for the space to grow.
So it's a good time to get in.
Absolutely. It's a very great time to get in, and definitely don't get in until you understand everything and kind of how the security works and private keys work and some of the real basic introductory things. Until you understand those, don't be putting any money in that you can't afford to lose. because there's many ways that people try to get your coins, and you're your own bank now. So the responsibility is on you. If you mess this up, you've got your private keys just, sitting on a document on your in your email or your, on your desktop. Somebody's probably going to come and take those, and so you've got to, educate yourself to a point where you can safely hold this stuff, and then the freedom you get from that is amazing. And I haven't met anybody who, isn't excited by that fully, gets into it and understands it.
So speaking of that, what is currently the easiest way to get Bitcoin or other coins and to store and exchange them?
Yeah, so to actually purchase them and go from, having a fiat currency like US dollars, I mean, that's the example. I'm in the States, so that's kind of the example I have experience with. I would say Coinbase. Gemini's not bad either. Coinbase has a few other, coins that you can purchase, and, you've got to make an account there, upload your identity documents. They're probably going to be giving that information to the IRS, so definitely be aware of that. But then you link a bank account, and then you, start your transaction 3 to 5 business days later. You've got cryptocurrency, on an exchange. You don't personally hold it. Coinbase holds it for you. But that's probably the quickest way for somebody that's brand new to the space getting into it. Just get the Coinbase app, upload your documents on there, and link your bank account. And then, start off with an initial purchase. It's something that you're willing to lose. And then now you've got, you're owning cryptocurrency at that point, or at least you have access to it. To store it, there's some cool hardware wallets out there. Those are kind of the simplest, most secure way to store it, especially for a newbie, like a Ledger Nano S or, the Trezor. I don't really have a preference. I've worked with both of those guys, but those hardware wallets are nice. And then, to actually exchange it, you can do that on Coinbase or GDAX as their associated website. Those are really only the kind of the top, 5 cryptocurrencies are offered there. If you want to get into some of the much smaller ones, and there's thousands of them now, you probably have to make another account on either Binance.com or Bittrex are kind of the 2 exchanges that I use to exchange one cryptocurrency for another. Coinbase is where you go to exchange fiat currency like a US dollar or a euro for crypto. So those are the two places exchange it that I use.
So it's good to mention that it's not a good idea to keep your coins at the exchange. And the hardware wallet is a good alternative to that. But how easy is to use those?
So the hardware wallets, you need a little bit of technical know-how. If you can use an internet browser and apps, the Ledger is just using both of those things. You're going and accessing an application through your Chrome browser and using that to connect to it. That's not too bad. I think there's some other apps out there, Abra and Jax. Jax I've used a little bit. I like Jax, and that's just a phone on your app, and the private keys are held, I believe, on the device there. And so it's, if you lose your phone, you don't have those backed up. There's a little bit of an issue there, but in terms of ease and being able to hold it and just transfer it around, some of the phone application wallets are pretty good, like Jax and Abra.
So how secure are they though?
So Jax, compared to hardware wallet, I think the hardware wallet's going to be more secure for sure. Jax and all that, they're holding the keys on the device itself. So if that gets compromised, your cryptocurrency could be gone. Whereas with the hardware wallet, it's encrypted, it's on the USB drive, and it's offline, and so it's harder to access if somebody's trying to get their hands on those private keys.
So maybe we should take a step back and talk a bit about the private key and what is that, and
Sure.
how do you use it for the transactions?
Yeah. And so, once you've purchased some cryptocurrency, you purchase it through Coinbase, they're holding that cryptocurrency for you. And the way that they do that is they have control of the private keys for the account that your crypto is held at. So The private key is really, you're your own bank now. If you've heard people say that, you're in the crypto space, you own crypto, you're your own bank. The private key is the bank vault key. That's what gives access to all of the funds in the cryptocurrency that are held in that wallet. So anybody with that private key is able to send any amount of the cryptocurrency that's held there out of that wallet to wherever they want. So, if you have a Bitcoin wallet, somehow I get your private key, I can go in there and send all of the Bitcoin that's in that account, to my account or to wherever I want. I have the keys to it. And you got to really, the main focus and security, and where a lot of people lose their cryptocurrency, or the most easy way to lose it, is just not securing that private key. It's a big long hash number or hash string, and it doesn't look like much, but if it gets out there and gets into the public, you get your accounts cleaned out pretty quickly, unfortunately.
So what other coins other than Bitcoin are we're following right now, and people should take close consideration of them?
Yeah. I pretty much just focus on stuff that's kind of in like the top 10 or top 15 of, overall market cap coins. I really like, just kind of equally spreading out my investments or whatever. And, I hold a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of Bitcoin Cash. That's kind of like the hedge against Bitcoin. There's a little bit of infighting there, and controversy between those two, so you kind of hold one and balance out holding the other. Litecoin I like a lot. They're very quick confirming. The transaction fees, they're very, very low compared to some of the other currencies out there. Ethereum, with their smart contract functionality, trying to make that Ethereum virtual machine, which is kind of the global supercomputer that you can upload your own programs to and have it run on there and nobody can turn it off. I'm really excited about Ethereum. For sure. And then I like Monero for the privacy tech that they're doing there, and they're trying to get away from the ASIC resistant or make their algorithm ASIC resistant, so the big mining cartels can't come in and drive the prices down. So I would say Litecoin, Ethereum, Monero would be the coins that I am liking and keeping an eye on as everything progresses forward.
So what can you currently use your coins for other than holding them as a long-term investment?
So you can, you can use them to pay for really anything. Coinbase offers the Shift card, and that's, I believe that's accepted anywhere. It's Visa. I believe it's Visa. Maybe it's MasterCard. But anywhere Visa is accepted, with that Shift card, you can actually spend your cryptocurrency through your Coinbase account, and they sell it, right at the point of sale. So if I was to go, to the gas station and fill up my car, right after we're done here, I could swipe that Shift card and it would sell, $30 worth of Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency I have on my Coinbase account, sell it right there, whatever the current price is. And the gas station gets US dollars, and then my cryptocurrency, balance gets knocked down, whatever the amount for my transaction was. And you can actually, with the Shift card, anywhere a credit card is taken, you can use your cryptocurrency to pay for it and actually live off of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's quite mainstream already.
Yeah, yep, and so that would be the biggest use case outside of just doing a long-term hold type of savings investment. You can the exact opposite, use it to pay for everyday items and spend it immediately.
Very nice. Are there any? I know that they are, but how many scams are still around that people should be aware of? Cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and I'm sure by now, hopefully, most people have heard about BitConnect and that whole thing, and they're the multi-level marketing type of businesses out there. I'm always very, very suspicious of them, and I know that BitConnect is kind of taken a little bit of a beating, but to my knowledge, they're still around. You can still trade their tokens. So that would be kind of the biggest one that had the most hype was BitConnect.
Can you talk a bit more about it? What's the case there?
Yeah, so you had to give them Bitcoin, like a big lump sum of Bitcoin, and then they trickled out, dividends to you over a period of 6 months or whatever the contract term length was. And so, you get out over the course of 6 months or 12 months, you get out much, much more Bitcoin than you put in, if you're selling those tokens when they pay you out right away. But the method that they were telling everybody they were using to create that Bitcoin, they were paying out to everyone. Nobody was able to verify it. There was no proof that they were actually creating new Bitcoin and that they weren't just taking all of the new money coming in and paying out the people from 6 months ago. And so, eventually that's a Ponzi scheme. Eventually that model isn't sustainable because the new money coming in doesn't equal all the old money that they're owed, and then things start to, the wheels start to fall off, and then suddenly, it's gone. And we saw a little, in my opinion, that's what we saw with, BitConnect happening over the course of the last few months here. And so I would definitely recommend staying away from them. I've been hearing a lot about airdrop scams too recently. Where somebody with a little bit of technical know-how is like forking a coin, and the more popular the coin is, the more profitable this potential scam is. And then they say, we're airdropping this to everybody that held this older cryptocurrency. This original cryptocurrency. We're forking it. We're doing all these new and cool things. So, sign up for our airdrop, send us your private keys, for the old crypto that you had, and, we'll make it worth your while. We're doing all these new cool things, get it on the ground floor. And so you sign up for the airdrop, you go and you do it. And then once they have your information, they just come in and clean your accounts out. And they make it look very legitimate. I mean, it's, even if you sometimes look at the technical papers, that stuff makes sense. But it's really just a money grab. And so I'm very suspicious of a lot of these new airdrop advertisements and marketing that kind of come across my desk. Those are.
Can you talk a bit about what an airdrop is, just to clarify that?
Yeah. So airdrop's kind of a new marketing tool and a way to get the cryptocurrency into people's hands. And you sign up and you're just given it. You have a public address for the, before the coin was forked. You have a public address that's associated with that pre-fork coin, and then the coin forks, and that address is still valid on the fork chain, and then they send cryptocurrency to that as kind of like a promotional thing, and you just basically get it for free. You don't have to do anything. You just have to give them your information, and they send you crypto back, and everybody's there. It's a feeding frenzy. Everyone's tweeting about it, and it's kind of like a promotional marketing tool that people are using to promote their forked coins, or just any coin really in general.
So what about mining scams?
Yeah, mining scams. I haven't. Let's see here. I haven't personally run across too many of those lately. I don't know. Are there any example or specific examples you had in mind when you're talking about the mining scams? Like nothing's popping into my head right off the.
Well, not really specific examples, but maybe just explain to people how they could be tricked through a mining scam, what to be aware of when looking for mining pools, because this is also a hot topic, people trying to get into crypto by joining mining pools. So maybe just to
Gotcha. Yeah, so anyone can make a mining pool. The software is fairly open source. It's not that hard to set up your own mining pool, and then you start advertising it and posting on the forums. People join it. And so, you see a mining pool, it's got like 1,000 people in it. They're all mining these coins. Everybody's saying, hey, we're making money. But what happens is you're mining through the pool. So you're actually kind of giving the pool your hashing power, and then allowing the pool to pick what they mine. And then the pool gets the rewards, and they pay you, they're supposed to pay you a portion of the rewards, equal to the amount of hashing power that you're contributing to the pool. What happens is you get a bad pool operator, and they don't pay you out in the amount that you're supposed to. So if you're 10% of that mining pool's hashing power is yours, you're entitled to 10% of the rewards that mining pool mines. And then you get these guys that, they set up their own pool, and everything looks legit, and then you end up getting, 5% or 4% of the reward. And when you're really contributing 10 or 15%, and there's not a really good, streamlined way to pick up on that right away, because you're not, it's all a third party, and you're trusting basically a centralized person to administrate this pool. And if they decide that they want to pay you half of what you're owed, I mean, you really don't.
Or nothing.
Yeah, or just nothing. Right, exactly. And that's the worst case scenario is where you mine and mine and mine. Yeah, we're going to pay you guys out next week. 2 weeks from now, they take everything that was mined, and then you just never get paid, and then you go back to the mining pool's website, and it's no longer there, and there's really no recourse. So yeah, you want to definitely vet the mining pools. Bitcoin Talk? They've got some good. They have some good advertisements for pools on there, especially for smaller coins. And if somebody's behaving poorly, they usually get called out on there. That would be the easiest resource over there. Where I would go to vet a pool would be to look them up there. Bitcoin Talk.
So are there any coins right now that you can actually mine by yourself, as it used to be with Bitcoin, or it's you have to join a pool to mine?
Solo mining is still very much around. It just depends on how much hashing power you have and the specific algorithm that you're choosing to mine, or the coin. So it's all based off of the difficulty. And so if you've got 100 people all mining a coin, everybody has to kind of wait their turn to get the reward on there. If you get 50 people and you put them all in a pool together, then that pool gets paid out every time one of those 50 people get paid out, and then they just split it up 50 different ways. And so your rewards come in much more frequently. If you're solo mining though, I was solo mining Monero about 6 months ago. I mean, it was something with like two mining rigs. It had a decent chunk of hash power, but it was something like every 3 weeks was when I got a reward. So I would mine and pay all of my electricity and keep everything on for 3 weeks. I would get no reward, and then I get this big chunk of it. And I get the whole block reward. Whereas if I was in a pool, I wouldn't have to wait 3 weeks. I'd be getting paid out little increments, maybe every day, or maybe even 2 times a day. Especially for some of these smaller coins or newer coins, you can definitely solo mine those if you have enough hashing power, and can be pretty profitable. For some of the more popular coins out there, in my specific case, for Monero, you're looking at maybe a month, before you get any type of reward, just constantly mining if you're solo mining. So the argument for joining a pool is a little bit stronger for some of the higher market cap coins.
Yeah, but you have to be careful.
Right. Yeah, you definitely make sure you're vetting the pool, and there's reviews, and look them up on Reddit or Bitcoin Talk, and make sure that there's other people out there saying, yeah, I got paid out, and there's not a bunch of comments saying this is a scam, they never got any money, and things like that. So
Cool. So are there any other schemes that people should be aware of?
Not really schemes. I mean, there's always the phishing stuff. You're always going to get, links in your email, like, hey, sign up for this ICO or sign up for this airdrop. There's things like that. Be very careful about clicking those links, when they come into your email. And always have if you're on the exchanges and you're trading your currencies and moving them in between exchanges, always have the 2-factor authentication set up. So you've got to, get the code off of your phone before you log in. It's just kind of an extra security step. You have a target on your back by owning cryptocurrency, because there is no recourse if somebody gets it, and there's a global reach to it. So somebody in, a less well-off situation than yourself, and they can pay to live for a month or 2 months, or provide for a family for a month, just by getting their hands on a few $100s worth of your cryptocurrency, and they definitely try. So the security stuff is very important. That's the most common way I've seen people lose their cryptos, is just poor security practices rather than putting their Bitcoin into a scam straight out.
So are there any mirroring websites like the old days of e-commerce when you had a clone of a website and then you kind of close everything?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so now this is back.
Yeah, no, it's back. It's back in a very significant way. And obviously the worst time that happens is you're trying to log into my Ether wallet or something like that, your Ethereum wallet where all your cryptos are held, and instead of myetherwallet.com you go to myetherwallet.co. There's no M on there. The website looks exactly the same as the Ethereum wallet website, except when you go to log in and you put your private key in to unlock the account, it just completely cleans out your account and everything is gone. Because it was a phishing site. It was looked exactly the same, but it wasn't the verified site, and that happens over and over again. And the worst, or the time you need to watch out for that the most, is when you're interacting with wallets. So if you're going to download a wallet, for Litecoin or for Bitcoin, make sure you're on the correct website. It's a verified link. I usually just look, I type in, Bitcoin Electrum Wallet Reddit, and I go and follow that link there if it's got enough upvotes and people haven't other people have used that link before me and said, hey, this works, it's legit. That's kind of what I use to make sure I'm getting the right wallet or going to the correct website. But yeah, there's lots of sites out there that look legit and behave exactly the same, but gotta watch out for that.
Well, we are still in the early days of all that, so hopefully it will all clear out in the future, and it will be much more safer and secure to go about it, and don't have to worry about all that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely coming. I think 70% of the world or 80% of the world or something like that has a smartphone now. And just this smartphone app with like a little bit of encrypted hard drive storage on the phone itself, to hold your private keys, and a smartphone app, that's got kind of a universal wallet in it and maybe an exchange. Just in terms of global adoption, that would be so huge, and it would alleviate a lot of the security issues we have now, where you've got private keys for 20 different, currencies, and it's all over the place. There's a lot of moving parts that you've got to understand and take the proper precautions, to mitigate your risks. And it's only becoming more and more easy. But yeah, the current state of things, it's a little complicated. It's not always clear, exactly what you should be doing to fully protect your investment and use digital currency in a safe way.
So just to clarify that, for every coin, for every currency that you own, you have a different private key that you have to store.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so let's say hardware wallets, do they support all kinds of coins, or because they're not that many on the market, like 5,
yeah,
3 or 4, maybe there are more, but there are 3 or 4 that I constantly see.
Right, yeah, and they don't, and unfortunately the hardware wallets don't hold all the currencies. They just kind of pick and choose the ones that they want to support. I think Ledger's got a lot of the bigger ones, like Ripple and Neo and Litecoin and Ethereum, but they definitely don't hold all of the currencies out there. So if you're purchasing smaller market cap altcoins, you're going to be downloading the core wallet from the development team, from their website or from their GitHub page. Installing that onto your desktop as a program, and then you'll have your private keys on there. You can pull that off, put it on like an encrypted USB drive, something that's password protected, and get it offline. Don't keep it sitting on your desktop or on a device that has constant internet access. Those are the bank vault keys. You want to keep them offline and make it as hard as possible for somebody to get their hands on it.
So another question comes in terms of security. With those hardware wallets, they keep your information offline, but then they still connect to the internet when the transaction takes place. So is this a room for does this give a room for hacking and other vulnerabilities there?
Yeah, it does. And actually, I think recently Ledger, it was in the news. There was like a 15-year-old kid from Great Britain, I think, or so, I forget where he was from. But he's like, yeah, you guys have like a vulnerability in your firmware here. And I read the article a little bit, and it made sense. I'm not, the most tech, I'm not a computer programmer by any means. I just, passionate about it and self-educated. But it seemed to make sense what he was talking about, and I think there was a pretty significant vulnerability, and Ledger had to roll out a big patch and an update, and I was helping a lot of people, update the firmware on their hardware wallets after that. And so the hardware wallets are definitely not without risk. The way I look at it is it's just kind of the you play the game, the security versus the kind of the ease of access game, and it happens a lot. If you have a paper wallet and you engrave it in steel and bury it in a hole in the mountains, there's a pretty good chance that nobody's going to ever get that private key for that. But on the other hand, if you want to use the money that's in that account, you've got to drive out to the woods and dig up this thing, and it's this whole process, and it's very inconvenient. And so, what happens is people find a balance, somewhere in the middle where it's, it's kind of hard to get your hands on that private key, but it's also, you don't have to take a whole day, of finding it just to be able to use it. And for me, the hardware wallets kind of find a happy medium in between there, where, the private keys are held in a secure device or secure drive. It's behind a pin. They've got security protocols, that they're following to make it harder for people to get their hands on it. Impossible, probably not, but very much harder. And then, you carry it around with you day to day. You want to use your crypto, you plug it in and go to the app and use it. And so for me, that trade-off is kind of worth it, but it is not, it is no guarantee of security. There are, vulnerabilities, and it's just kind of a game between the people trying to figure out how to exploit them. And then, the technical team, the security team at Ledger or Trezor, who are trying to, keep those guys from patching the ways that these guys figure out how to compromise them. But to date, I haven't had anybody that's lost money from one of those. They haven't had their private keys compromised in any way from those hardware wallets. So, the data that I'm looking at would say that the hardware wallets are pretty secure. And a good balance in between that ease of accessibility and security.
I recently stumbled upon a project for a hardware wallet in the form of a phone case. So it's kind of embedded in your phone case. So it's a phone case and a hard wallet at once. Yeah, it sounds, it looked cool. It's still in the development stage, but it's an interesting idea because you don't have to carry a separate device with you. You have that on your phone.
Yeah, it's all contained. Oh man, that's huge too. Whenever I hear, ideas like that, I just think of like how many more people it's going to bring into the space, because it's that much, easier and a little more intuitive to understand. It's all there in one place. And that'd be my biggest gripe, I think, about the current state of things, is it's just so darn complicated, especially for someone in an older generation, my parents' age, like the baby boomers, who didn't grow up with, smartphones and internet and computers. For them, trying to figure out how to secure your private keys and link a bank account and things like that, it's a much steeper learning curve to get over. And then those are kind of the people, at least right now in this kind of speculative type market that we're in, those are the people that are really impacting this in a significant way. Kind of, they have their savings or retirements. They're trying to diversify into the space. At least in the United States is what I'm speaking from. But
that gives room for management funds and investment funds, and there are quite few of them also popping all over the place.
Yeah.
They make it easy for you.
Right, and they take away all of that, and they manage all of that internally, and then but I hate that, because it's just the same old game, repeating itself, where you've got Fidelity or whoever, and they have your savings account or the retirement account, and they manage it all for you, and they just take so much of the profits for themselves, and it's not for me, the cryptocurrency space is like an opportunity to, you be your own bank, obviously, but also, be your own financial advisor, be your own, have control of your finances in a way that nobody can touch it. If you've got Monero and you've got your private key secured, there's no government or, entity that's going to come in and take that from you. It's yours now. You can do what you want with it. But the reality is, people are lazy, and if it's easier to pay a big investment bank to manage all of your cryptocurrencies for you, they're going to do that. And so
but there are smaller funds too, and I mean, at least from what I see in the space, there are quite few smaller funds popping out, and they take around 20%, I think, which is still a lot, but for a management fee.
Right. Yeah. It's I don't know. I just like to see people, managing it for themselves and just learning, learning the skills, because it's only going to become more relevant as this stuff progresses. And 5-10 years from now, people are going to be using the blockchain tech, and they're may or may not even realize it, kind of with some of the internet and the protocols and things like that today. People use it without really understanding or knowing what it is. But I think as the space grows, to keep it from just kind of repeating some of the same old mistakes that the central banking and financial institutions have been forcing us to live by. If we want to break past that and grow this thing in a new direction and really open up the world to decentralized banking and decentralized financial freedom, people need to realize that the personal you have an increased personal responsibility by owning cryptocurrencies. You need to be educated on it. You need to understand it. It's an emerging space right now, and we need all the help we can get. And the biggest thing is awareness. And then after that comes the people doing what you and I are doing, actually contributing their time and effort into it. But if you don't do anything but just be aware about it and kind of spread the awareness and some of the benefits about it, I think we can build something really cool here on a global scale that's going to, change how humanity works and society and in general for the future. So it's exciting. I'm excited.
So am I. So what are some other pitfalls that Bitcoin and other currencies currently have?
I think. Oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please.
The first thing that jumps into my mind is like the scaling. That would be the number one thing, kind of holding us back, I think, from increased adoption and awareness. When we had that run up around Christmas, the transaction fees and everything just kind of shot through the roof. The amount of time it took to confirm sending, a transaction, sending one Bitcoin from this account to that account, that amount of time went way up. And that's something, if you're gonna, you want to have a globally adopted currency that people can just use, like it's digital cash or something, you can't have, these big fees and all these, long hours. I mean, you can, we got through it, but, ideally that's really holding it back. And so the Lightning Network, I think that went live last week, or a couple weeks ago or something like that. That's going to take a lot of those transactions kind of off of the blockchain, and then they'll just settle at the end. So it'll be kind of one big lump transaction that contains a bunch of off-chain transactions, between two people on a payment channel. I'm pretty excited for that. That should, allow the transactions per second. I think it's like 7 transactions a second right now is what Bitcoin can handle, with Lightning Network. Hopefully that'll be getting closer to like Visa or MasterCard. It does like 40,000 transactions a second. But that'd be the biggest thing, the biggest pitfall or roadblock for Bitcoin and all the other currencies too. I mean, Ethereum's trying to do sharding and Plasma, and they've got the Raiden network, kind of some of their scaling solutions. Litecoin's adopting the Lightning Network, similar way that Bitcoin is. And once they figure that out, I'm hopeful that we'll see these scaling implementations start to affect the cryptos, here in 2018. Get ready for kind of the next wave of new investment. I think if the scaling solutions are working and everybody's happy with them. The other thing, the second my second answer to that question too. The other big pitfall I see is a lot of the kind of infighting between the various groups in the crypto space. And I think the easiest one to point out would be Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and a lot of that controversy. And it's just, to me, it just seems like so much wasted effort. You know, we're all in this together. We're trying to build a better tomorrow through blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and we just can't even agree on some really basic things like a block size increase. And to me, when I see that, I think, you know, that's not how it's supposed to be. We need to all be on the same boat here in promoting, you know, crypto adoption no matter what. And, you know, I have my coin, you have your coin. That's not, you know, it's getting a little too tribal. And I would love to see a lot more kind of cohesiveness and just focus on, you know, the end result of getting this stuff promoted and getting this technology, you know, built up and improved to a point where everybody can use it. I mean, that should really be the focus, not like.
Can you help us understand what's the case? Was the conflict between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash that you mentioned?
Yeah, the conflict, as I understood it, it started with the block size increase, right? The 2 megabyte block size increase. The kind of the core team didn't want to increase that, and then there were some other people that did. And then, you know, there was some censorship going on the different forums. I think on Reddit there was, you know, lots of claims of censorship between both sides, and then they tried to fork it. See here. I don't remember the date that they forked Bitcoin Cash, but that was kind of the answer to, okay, we have these concerns. You know, the transaction fees are climbing. The amount of time for a transaction to be confirmed is increasing. You know, this is no longer a usable currency, you know, dated for day-to-day small $5, $10 transactions. We can't use it like that anymore. We need to increase the block size and increase the transaction capability on the network. Core team said, you know, this is a Band-Aid for a stab wound, basically increasing this block size. We've got the Lightning Network coming. We've got these other, you know, implementations that's going to solve some of that. So you guys just wait. And they were like, well, we don't want to wait. And so they forked it. Now we've got Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin. And, you know, they really, really don't like each other. That's kind of my understanding of the history there and kind of how people started getting driven apart. Yeah.
So the block size is associated with the number of transactions. Is that it?
Yeah. So like when I talk about increasing the block size, you know, past 2 megabytes. So every time there's a transaction, you know, like I have 1 Bitcoin in my account, I tell the network I want to send it from my account to Victoria's account. That transaction takes up a little bit of space. You know, when they in its digital format, each one of those transactions is then put into a block that, you know, the miners create. And you know, each block can only handle 2 megabytes worth of transactions, and then after that, you know, that block can no longer hold anymore, so it's got to be chained onto the existing blockchain, and then we have to start creating a new block. And so, you know, if you can fit 10 transactions in a block, then you got to make a new block. The amount of time it takes to do that versus a block that has 100 transactions in it before you have to make a new block. The one with 100 transactions in it is going to be able to handle a lot more volume and people moving money around. And so that was kind of a roundabout answer.
So did Bitcoin Cash actually solve this? Did they make a use of their case?
I believe they've got. I believe they did increase the block size. I don't know to what amount, and it may be variable. I'm not sure what they increased it to, but yes, they split it. They forked the coin, and you know, if Bitcoin Cash had the same amount of volume as Bitcoin, which it does not, they would be able to handle more transactions per second currently than Bitcoin would be able to with the tech that they forked to.
Okay. Well, so as we're coming to a close, would you like to share what's your vision about the future of cryptocurrencies in 2018 and beyond?
Yeah, for sure. I think in 2018, we're going to see another kind of up cycle like we saw around Christmas. I don't know when, but I think with all these scaling solutions that are kind of in the pipes and coming, being released to the public and getting some momentum behind them. I think once the scaling solutions kind of kick in, we'll see that next wave of investment and kind of speculation come into the market and drive everything up. So yeah, 2018 is a great time to buy and hold cryptocurrency for sure. And yeah, it's at early stages, and we're still building the adoption, building the global awareness. And so buy a little bit, something you can't afford to lose. Learn about the tech and get excited about it, because I don't know too many people that dive into it and don't get excited about it. And just really hold on and keep an eye on the space. Post 2018, I think all of this stuff is kind of going to do for like businesses and entities what the internet did for individuals. So when I look at like social media and Instagram and Facebook and all of those things, you're able to kind of digitize your personal identity and put photos of your vacation and your life and things like that onto the internet. Anybody the world over can look at that. And so you get kind of, really fosters, we're not all that different. That I feel like that's what the internet kind of did for humanity. It let everybody know that even if you're in some other country, people are still struggling with the same problems. They still have this issue, and it really kind of raised the global consciousness of what it means to be a human. I feel like the internet really helped do that for everybody. And I think blockchain is going to do something similar, and for the small businesses and kind of the companies out there, and where people go to work. You're going to have a small furniture shop in India, and it's going to be globally accessible. They'll be able to tokenize their assets and run their company on a decentralized ledger. And they'll be able to raise funding from a global pool of crypto aware people. And it's gonna really decentralize kind of the investment and the business side of life, kind of like the internet did, for your personal side. And so, yeah, you're going to be able to participate in little companies and shops opening up all over the world, and it'll really individually, you're going to have a lot more economic impact through the application of blockchain than we have been able to up to this point. So yeah, put a lot of power back in the hands of the individual, and I'm excited and ready for it.
And I would add to that if the internet rose awareness of of global problems, blockchain will actually bring some solutions to that problem.
Yes. I totally agree. For sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Matt, for this talk. I'm sure it was very useful for everybody watching.
Yeah.
Thank you again for being here.